classes, but we'll use it at the end here and see how it goes. So let me know when you're ready in the chat box that you've got the section in orange opened up on your screen. So I'll stall here for a little bit while you guys are getting that open. Remember this article, really, really good one. And we read half of it yesterday. I just quizzed you on it, so you remembered almost all of it, which is great. Anything that we are highlighting that we're highlighting yellow is like a Catholic cause of the Reformation. So what the Catholic Church had going on that made people want to see changes about. And then anything that is blue, which there's a lot, is basically Martin Luther's way of trying to get things across in terms of being changed. Okay. Is there anybody? I need to see everybody in the chat. Are you all ready to go? Are you all ready to go? See, Natalie is. Arthur, thank you. Marcus, thank you. Timberland, good. So yesterday we took care of half of this. And if you missed it, I'll post it on Classroom, the video that we went through yesterday in class. But if you were here with us in the meet yesterday, you should already have this whole first half already highlighted up. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm pretty positive. I'm scrolling down here. I'm pretty positive that, and you can let me know in the chat, this section right here, right? Luther retweeted and liked. Was that the last section that you guys did yesterday? You can just say yes or no in the chat. I think that was the last section that you did yesterday. I'm pretty sure that's as far as we got yesterday. Okay, fantastic, cool. So the section that you need to go to today, or to start, is the one right underneath it. I'll go to the section that is titled, "Why was his message so successful at spreading?" Okay, this one right here. So again, my hope and expectation is that you are going to make yours look exactly like this while I'm reading it to you. Okay, and the color for the highlighting, it needs to be that exact same way, because these are all Luther causes, right? And then you can add in the text that's in red. So while I'm reading this to you, make yours look like what you see on the screen, okay? So continuing the article from yesterday, why was his message so successful at spreading? First thing, unlike larger books, which took weeks or months to produce, a pamphlet, which is what Luther mostly did, could be printed in a day or two. And then make sure you add this text here in red, just said that pamphlets equal that it can get out quickly so people can get information quickly. So that's a big thing for Luther, is the fact that the church kept writing these super long books that would take really, really long time to produce. Luther, on the other hand, he was writing pamphlets, which were like short little, like pieces of paper of material, and it could be produced much quicker. Basically, it was the idea of you got to strike while the iron's hot. You've got all this kind of wave of an audience, right, in Europe, and Luther understood, like, I can't take like 2 months and go write a book. I need to go take like 1 day and go write a new pamphlet and get it copied out to everybody else. So that's a big thing that he was able to do compared to larger books. And I really just helped you with this question over here on the right-hand side. Copies of the initial edition, which cost about the same as a chicken, very cheap, would first spread throughout the town where it was printed. So that's another advantage of doing these pamphlets, is that the cost to make them. So like making larger books, it costs a ton. But these pamphlets that Luther was doing, super inexpensive, very, very cheap, makes it more affordable to the common person so that they can buy it and therefore learn about what Luther is writing about. Very, very smart stuff that Luther was doing, right? Hopefully that kind of all makes sense about so far about why those pamphlets were definitely better than, large, long books. Luther's sympathizers, again, you should just be making yours look like what you see on the screen. Luther's sympathizers recommended it to their friends, and booksellers promoted it. So again, the idea of, his followers would retweet it, they would like it, they would share it out to their friends, and then all of a sudden the booksellers of, in these places throughout Northern Europe would be like, well, I want this recent pamphlet from this guy named Martin Luther. I need it for my books, for my store. And then there you go. Traveling merchants, businessmen, traders, and preachers would then carry the copies of Luther's writings to other towns, and if they sparked sufficient interest, local printers would quickly produce their own editions in batches of 1,000 or so in hope of cashing in on the buzz. So basically, you would have all of these people like physically taking Luther's message to these different cities around Northern Europe, and then these other local printers would be like, hey, did you guys hear about this new Luther pamphlet of this, this, and this? Yeah, okay, let's make some copies. We need to sell this in our own stores. And they would really try to cash in on the buzz of it all. A popular pamphlet would thus spread quickly without its author's involvement. That's an interesting line right there. I didn't highlight it, but I kind of am rethinking it. Maybe I should, for light blue for Luther, because this is Twitter, right? The fact that you could tweet something out and you could have 1,000 people retweet it, and now it is spread to the masses. You know what I'm saying? And you didn't do anything as the author except for that one initial tweet. It's exactly what was going on here with Luther, right? He would just create this one initial pamphlet, and then he would just kind of give it out to the masses, and then the public would just explode it, and go in all sorts of different directions. Last paragraph here. As with likes and retweets, oh, there it is right there. Today, the number of reprints serves as an indicator of a given item's popularity. Again, if something gets retweeted more often than something else, it's obviously more popular, right? Luther's pamphlets, this should be in blue. Luther's pamphlets were the most sought after, so very, very, people wanted them. A contemporary remarked that they were not so much as sold as seized. Like basically, like Luther's pamphlets would come into these bookstores, and they couldn't even keep them on the shelves because people were wanting them so quickly. His first pamphlet, written in Germany, the Sermon on Indulgence and Grace, was reprinted 14 times in 1518 alone, in print runs of at least 1,000 copies each time. Of the 6,000 different pamphlets that were published in the German-speaking lands between 1520 and 1526, some 1,700 were editions of a few dozen works by Luther. In all, and this last one's really important, in all, some 6 to 7 million pamphlets were printed in the first decade of the Reformation, more than a quarter of them done by Martin Luther. Okay, so again, make your section look like that. I'm not helping you with these questions. Well, I kind of helped you with this first one, but you can do these reading comprehension questions on the right-hand side. Okay, let me know if you are ready to move on to the next one, which is multimedia campaign. Let me know in the chat box if you're ready. So go down where it says a multimedia campaign. Let me know if you're ready for the next section. Are you ready to go through the next little section there in orange, a multimedia campaign? Natalie's ready. Maggie is ready. Again, I'm not helping you with the questions. Right on the right-hand side, it's just that's on you. Isaac's ready, thank you. Perfect. If I could teach first period all day, it would be fantastic. Okay, so here we go. A multimedia campaign, and I love my GIF that I threw in there. A multimedia campaign, again, make yours look like this, please. It was not just words that traveled along the social networks of the Reformation, but music and images too. That should definitely help you out with this question over here. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The news ballad, which was basically like a song, like an exaggerated song. The news ballad, like the pamphlet, was a relatively new form of media. It set a poetic and often exaggerated description of contemporary events to a familiar tune so that it could be easily learned, sung, and taught to others. So that's definitely something that is in blue. Luther's followers realized, well, not everybody in Europe right now can read, right? They're not literate. So how else are we going to get this message across them? Oh, I know. We're going to sing to them. We're going to sing to them in a tune that they recognize, and we're going to teach them the lyrics that they can understand, and then therefore, they're going to get the message too, even if they can't even read. They're going to learn this music and learn these songs, okay? News ballads, songs, often deliberately mashed up a pious melody with secular or even, oh my gosh, brace yourself, profane lyrics. Dun, dun, dun. They were distributed in the form of printed lyric sheets with a note to indicate which tune they should be sung in. Once learned, they could spread even among the illiterate through the practice of communal singing. And again, please add this part down here in red. So the fact that you could have memorizable songs, so even people that couldn't read could understand the message. So I won't get into specifics with my oldest daughter, but my oldest daughter goes to a school, she's kindergarten, and they're learning a lot of songs, right? And Savannah, my daughter, she's working really hard at learning how to read. She's getting really good, but she can't read, a ton of, long text or anything like that, but she can memorize songs like the best of them. And I'm sure my youngest one could too. But that was what was going on here, is that they were using basically songs to be able to talk about how bad the church was and how good Luther's message was and what his message was, for citizens. Okay, hopefully that kind of all makes sense for that one, for a multimedia campaign. Okay, in the chat box, let me know if you are ready to go on to the next section, which is called bold graphics. Let me know if you're ready to go to the next one. Bold graphics is the next section. Bold graphics. Okay. Bold graphics. So you guys are ready. Okay, cool. Short little one. And yeah, I'm going to explain what the heck's going on in that picture. Bold graphic. Woodcuts. So basically, think of like, if you guys ever gone to a street fair and there's like a woodworker, somebody that's like designing like, I don't know, Seahawks, you know, something out of wood. That's what a woodcut is. Woodcuts were another form of propaganda, another way of like getting Luther's message out. The combination of bold graphics with a small amount of text could convey powerful messages to the illiterate or semi-illiterate and serve as a visual aid for preachers. So, and make sure you add this here in red, like memorable images or drawings help non-readers understand Luther's message. So I'll explain what the heck's going on in this picture over here. Luther remarked that without images, we can neither think nor understand anything. Some religious woodcuts were elaborate with complex allusions and layers of meaning that would only have been apparent to the very well-educated. But some, like this super famous one over here, it's pretty gross. Some were astonishingly crude and graphic, such as this one, The Origin of the Monks. See the picture? In the picture, yes, it shows 3 devils excreting, going number 2, a pile of monks. Yikes. The best of them, of these woodcuts, were produced by Luther's friend Lucas Cranach. So, again, some of these woodcuts were super elaborate and very, you know, thought-provoking. Other ones were just like, hey, yeah, you see these 3 devils? They're literally pooping out monks. That's how bad the church is, right? And it's just like, holy, that is insane. Okay, that's what the idea was that they were going to use these bold graphics to, if you couldn't read a sentence, a word, anything, you could look at that picture and be like, yes, okay, the monks, the church is bad. I got it. I got it. They're coming from the devils, literally, like out of the devils. Okay, got it. Does that make sense? So it's like, holy smoke. Some of these were so crude, so bad, but it got the message across, right? It got the message across for Luther about how bad the church was and, you know, how terrible they were being. Okay. Always love teaching that one about the woodcuts, the bold graphics. Yes, please, Naomi, the red for sure. That would be awesome. Let me know when you are ready to go on to the last section. The Catholic Church tries to fight the infection. Let me know when you're ready. This last, or this, let me double check. Yep, last one here, and that's a little bit longer. So basically, this whole last part of the article, and then we're done, is focused on trying to take all of Luther's messages that are spreading throughout the entire, you know, continent at this point, and the Catholic Church was trying to now kind of like weather the storm, right? And trying to get people not to be on Luther's side, but to get back on theirs. Okay, here we go. Last little part of this article, and then we'll do Padlet and see you guys later. Okay, here we go. The Catholic Church tries to fight the infection. Again, please make yours look exactly like this. And I'm going to go slow. You just take your time and make sure that yours looks like this. I'm not helping you with the questions over here. You're big boys and girls. You can figure those out. Okay, but I definitely will. I'm totally fine with you just literally making yours look like the answer key right here, okay? The Catholic Church tries to fight the infection. Amid the barrage of pamphlets, songs, ballads, and woodcuts, like that crazy gross one above, public opinion was clearly moving in Martin Luther's favor. Idle chatter and inappropriate books were corrupting the people, worried one church bishop. Oh man, can't believe they're talking in these inappropriate books and these drawings. Daily, there is a venerable downpour of Lutheran tracts in German and Latin. Nothing is sold here except the tracts of Luther. Lamented, meaning being very sad, Alexander, who was Leo X's envoy to Germany in 1521. And please, yeah, add what's in red here. It really just shows like the church basically had just kind of thrown their hands up in the air and was just like, what in the world are we going to do? Like these Luther writings, these Luther graphics, these Luther songs, these Luther pamphlets, we can't control these things. It's out of control. You know, we can't step in and people are sharing these things like crazy and their copies are being made left and right and all these different, what are we going to do? So Here we get into some yellow that needs to be highlighted, how the church responded. Most of the 60 or so clerics, people of the church, who rallied to the Pope's defense did so in the academic and impenetrable Latin, the traditional language of theology, rather than in German. So this part is hilarious to me. So Luther, right? We said Luther was like, you know what? I need to write everything in German, right? So more people can understand it, like the common person can understand it. The church response was, we're going to write books in Latin about why Luther is wrong. It's like they weren't getting it. They weren't understanding why Luther's message was like taking hold with kind of common people, is because they were reading German, they were reading short little pamphlets, right? You know, and the church was like, well, I know how to respond. We'll write long books in Latin. That'll do the trick. And obviously it didn't. Where Luther's work spread like wildfire, so Luther's works, you know, flying off like crazy, the church's pamphlets fizzled because average citizens could not read them. Duh. And attempts at censorship failed too. So they did try to censor what Luther had been writing, and that obviously fell flat on its face. So yeah, Luther is definitely a wanted man for sure. Printers in Lichtenberg were banned from publishing or selling anything by Martin Luther or his allies, but material printed elsewhere still flowed into the city. The city council complained to the Duke of Saxony that printers faced losing their, so they threatened some of these printers, you know, like people that are actually printing Luther's materials, and they said, you're going to lose your house, your home, and all your livelihood, because that which one would gladly sell, and for there is demand, they are not allowed to have or sell. Basically trying to threaten these people like, look, you're going to lose everything if you keep printing materials off about Luther. And then this last little part here is another Catholic cause. What they had was lots of Catholic pamphlets. That's funny here. But what they have in overabundance is desired by no one and cannot even be given away. So it's hilarious, right? The Catholic Church says, I know how we're going to respond. Okay, we wrote in Latin, we wrote these longer books, that didn't work. Okay, we're going to do these things called pamphlets, these like short little things, but we'll write in Latin, right? And everybody will love it. And this whole quote basically says is like, they couldn't give those pamphlets away. Nobody wanted them. Everybody wanted Luther's stuff. Nobody wanted what the church was writing. Okay. All right, last paragraph. Luther's enemies, definitely in blue, likened, this is great, likened the spread of his ideas to a sickness. Just like, man, history just repeats itself all the time. When you don't like what somebody says, you says it's wrong. You say it's wrong. You say it's a sickness. You say it's a blasphemy. You say it's bad, right? You know what I'm saying? Like all these, I'm not to get political, but like all these, you know, Republicans that don't like what these liberals are saying. Oh, what they're doing is terrible. All these liberals that don't like Republicans. Oh, what they're doing is terrible. What they're saying. That's exactly what the church was doing here to Luther. His enemies likened the spread of his ideas to a sickness. Crazy. The papal note, the Pope, threatened Luther with excommunication in 1520 and said his aim was to cut off the advance of this plague and cancerous disease so it will not spread any further. So they're saying that Luther's words are a plague. It's a cancerous disease. Yikes. Okay, and then this part here, the Edict of Worms, or the Diet of Worms, in 1521 warned that the spread of Luther's message had to be prevented. Otherwise, the whole German nation and later other nations will be infected with the same disorder. That's the way the church was trying to sell this as, oh my gosh, if we don't slow it down what Luther's doing, it is going to infect, like the way we talked about coronavirus. It's going to infect the rest of the German nation and eventually other nations. We can't let them have this same disorder. Good grief. But this is the last great two sentences. But it was too late. The infection, Luther, had taken hold in Germany and beyond. And I love this last quote. It's so perfect. To use modern terms, Luther's message had gone viral. Everybody type viral in the chat box. Everybody type viral in the chat box. Viral. Think about the lady. Think about any, you guys have grown up in the age of things going viral, right? You know, for me, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, you know, in the 2000s. And like the computers weren't, you know, like laptops weren't a thing and social media wasn't. You guys have grown up in the age of things going viral, right? So when you think of something going viral, in my head, and I'll be honest, I think of the lady that was the lady that she escaped from the fire and she was like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like that lady, that's going viral. You know what I mean? Or like what else was a good viral one? The I Like Turtles kid that my brother loves, sending all the time. Like, that's going viral. So that's what Luther had done here, right? With his message, is it had gone viral. It had gone out in social media. It had gone out in a variety of different forms, right? That's why this whole message with Luther is pretty revolutionary. It's pretty ahead of his time for sure. This was going on, guys, 500 years ago, before this age, for sure. Okay, yeah, memes, think about it like that too, for sure. That's a good point. Okay, so the hope is, and then make sure you add this red part down here, that Luther's message had spread so fast and so quick that is comparable to today's version of, quote, going viral. Okay, again, I'm not helping you with any of the questions over here. You got to be big boys and girls and figure that out. Okay, but by now, you should have everything highlighted correctly from this good article about how Luther went, quote unquote, viral. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense. So